We're 1 week closer to the NFL draft and the combine is here. It's time to pop, lock, and mock it. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back. Next episode of the Fantasy Headliners coming at you with Mock Draft 3.0 today. And we've been playing out scenarios, right? We've been talking about it here in the past few episodes. In this one, we're talking about team needs based on best available player. Once again, joined by Mr. Kyle Richardson. Kyle, how we doing?
Doing really well, and you said it correctly. This isn't predictions yet right now. We're going to do predictions after the combine, so when that is done, then we will put out our predicted mock draft. But this is just, once again, playing out a scenario of best available based on team needs. I think there's some good ones here, but I think there's some things that I would change based on my next mock draft as well. So we can jump right into it and see what happens.
Yeah, before we waste any more time, let's pop, lock, and mock it. Here we go. Going in number 1, the Arizona Cardinals. This has been a big question mark here for a few weeks. What happens with the number 1 pick? We have them taking Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle out of Alabama, the best interior defensive lineman in the draft.
Yeah, and we've talked about it. Arizona should really trade out of this spot, but we're not going to do any trades in this draft. I do think they could use help at defensive tackle a little bit more, even though I like Bosa and I think he's the best overall player. We'll go Williams here because he's also basically a top 3 player as well.
Yep. All right, number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. This is where we have Nick Bosa falling, arguably the best player in the NFL draft. We have him going number 2 to the San Francisco 49ers.
I think he's definitely the safest player in the draft.
Yes, he is, absolutely. And number 3, going to the New York Jets, somebody who has had a lot of speculation. Could he be in these top 2 spots? He's raw and has a lot of talent. It's Josh Allen, defensive end out of Kentucky.
Yeah, based on upside alone, if you were just drafting off upside, you would go with potentially Josh Allen over Nick Bosa. Like I said, Nick Bosa, I think, is safer. Williams as well. I like Allen. I do have some concerns, but that's for a different video at a different time.
Yep. Number 4, the first of the 3 first-round picks for the Oakland Raiders. Here we have them taking Greedy Williams, defensive back out of LSU. It's definitely a need there on the defensive side of the football, and possibly after this week's combine, he's somebody who could turn some heads and move up the draft board quickly.
Yeah, in my personal mock, I'll probably drop him a little bit, but based on, again, team needs, they really need a cornerback. They need help defending the pass. Greedy Williams, I have him over a couple of the defensive ends, the edge rushers that are here, so we're going to put him at number 4.
Number 5, the Tampa Bay Bucks. We have them taking Ed Oliver, defensive tackle out of Houston, and it's weird. I was watching some film on him earlier, and there was actually some analysts out there comparing him to Aaron Donald.
Ooh, I said the same exact thing to my dad, actually, speaking with him tonight. He was reading me a mock draft out of the Detroit Free Press, and it was talking about the Lions, and somebody had Oliver going after that. And I said, no. I said the last time the Lions passed on a defensive tackle that was the game changer is when they took Eric Ebron over Aaron Donald. So perfect, 100% yes.
Yeah, Ed Oliver definitely a great piece there for the Tampa Bay Buck defense. Number 6, the New York Football Giants. Here we have arguably the best offensive lineman in the draft, Jonah Williams, offensive tackle out of Alabama.
Yep, and a lot of people are going to say they should go quarterback here. But again, if you want to argue it, you could say that offensive tackle is a bigger need because they need to protect 755-year-old Eli Manning, and they have to protect their new toy in Saquon Barkley. They'll get a quarterback later, potentially next year.
And really, what help is it if you draft a quarterback here if you don't have the line to protect him anyway?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Build for the future here. Number 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here we have our first quarterback in the draft, the non-rushing Dwayne Haskins, quarterback out of Ohio State. He is our first quarterback off the board at number 7.
I still have him over Kyler Murray right now. That could change after next weekend, but I do have him going over Kyler Murray at this point.
Yep, the pocket passer, Dwayne Haskins, not to be confused with the more of a rushing Dwayne Haskins. Just going to drive that one home, Kyle. Here we go. Number 8, the Detroit Lions. They have a need for an edge rusher. Here we have them taking Clelin Ferrell, defensive end out of Clemson, and this dude is an absolute beast.
He is. I've talked about Brian Burns here a lot, especially in the first 2 mocks. I really like Brian Burns' upside, but Clelin Ferrell, I think, is a lot safer as well. That's why I'm going to put him here for right now.
All right, at number 9, the Buffalo Bills, and here we have them taking The very first wide receiver off the board, DK Metcalf, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. You've seen the pictures flying around. The dude is absolutely jacked. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, something we'll need to pay attention to here in the next few weeks. But he's definitely somebody who has some upside. Unfortunately, we have him going to Buffalo.
Yeah, you could argue that they need more on defense, but their defense wasn't really that bad last year either. It was better than not most of the time. You could argue that they need someone on the offensive line, but is there really anyone here from the offensive line that I would put right now? DK Metcalf, they need to get Josh Allen more weapons. He by far probably has the most upside of any wide receiver in this draft as of right now, so we're going to slot him in there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, number 10, the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to get it right. This is 3.0, Kyle, and you've corrected me for 2 straight mock drafts. The defensive back out of DBU, Byron Murphy out of Washington, going to the Denver Broncos at number 10, arguably the best defensive back here in the draft.
Yep, and with the trade for Joe Flacco, I'm not really prioritizing quarterback for them right now. I think that they should take one in 2020 instead. So they do need a cornerback that is high on their list. Why not take, in my opinion, the best one in this draft? Because I will have him as my CB1.
Number 11, the Cincinnati Bengals. I think in every mock we've had a linebacker going here. I think it's an obvious need for the Cincinnati Bengals. Here we have him taking Devin White, linebacker out of LSU.
Yeah, basically the linebacker one in almost every single mock draft, every single website, including mine at this point. Yes, I have him as my linebacker one. We'll slot him in here because it is a need.
Yep, number 12, the Green Bay Packers, their first of 2 first-round picks. We have them taking defensive end Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State. And this guy, he's going to create all kinds of havoc on the defensive line for the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I've tried to put a safety here for basically the first 2 mock drafts. But Montez Sweat, I do have a little bit higher than the safeties at this point. So I slot him here at edge. He'd be a great fit for that defense.
Yep. Number 13, the Miami Dolphins. We know they have a quarterback need, and here they get it. Quarterback Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma, going 13th overall, and he's got to be better than Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. Probably. Again, putting Kyler Murray here because quarterback is an obvious need at this point. He's still my QB2 until we see what happens at the combine. But more than likely, Miami will probably actually be moving up in this draft to try and get a quarterback. I'd be surprised if they stay put.
Yeah, agreed. Number 14, the Atlanta Falcons have need on defense. We have them taking defensive tackle / defensive end, depending on where they want to slot him. Rashawn Gary out of the University of Michigan. This guy is somebody who's going to be able to go into Atlanta like we have here and really produce from day one.
Yes, and I like this fit because they can move him inside or outside. They have needs at both, so they take a guy with a little versatility that they could put at either or.
Yep. Number 15, the Washington Redskins. They have all kinds of needs. Under team needs, it just says all. We have them taking offensive tackle Cody Ford out of Oklahoma. I think it is absolutely apparent that offensive line needs to be addressed, and they go Cody Ford right here.
Yeah, you could argue that they need a wide receiver more, but I would think that they need an offensive lineman more. Cody Ford is the guy that will probably move inside at some point. They do need help on the inside more than the outside. So taking this kid and putting him at guard would be a great help for that line and give Darius Guice some, hopefully, big holes to run through.
That's right. Number 16, the Carolina Panthers, also in need of a defensive end. We haven't taken Ja'Kai Polite, defensive end out of Florida. Julius Peppers was 612 years old. He's finally retired and gone. They need a replacement. Here they get it with Ja'Kai Polite.
Yep. Yeah. A guy that has a definite first round grade on him. To get him at 16 actually might be a win for a lot of teams. This would be a good spot for him to go as well.
Yep. Cleveland Browns, number 17 overall. We have them taking Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle out of Clemson. And there's a lot of people on a lot of different websites and analysts that thinks that Christian Wilkins may be one of the top defensive tackles out there in this draft.
Yes, I've seen him vary anywhere from that 2 position all the way back to like the 3 or 4 in terms of defensive tackle. I've seen him anywhere in the top 10 to the top 30. So it just kind of depends on who it is. I do like him a lot. I think he is definitely one of the top 32 players in this draft. He is definitely a first round pick. Defensive tackle is a need for the Cleveland Browns. Keep working on that defense. The offense is going to be great. Just start stopping teams.
Yep. Number 18, the Minnesota Vikings. We have them taking Jawan Taylor, offensive tackle out of Florida. And a lot of people don't like this because it's not a sexy pick, but I think we both agree we need to shore up that offensive line in Minnesota in order to, A, give Kirk Cousins some more time and maybe open up some more running lanes for Dalvin Cook because he looked explosive at the end of the year.
Yeah, they need offensive line bad, bad, bad. So they're going to spend a first-round pick on one.
Tennessee Titans at number 19. This is where we have edge rusher Brian Burns out of Florida State. We kind of touched on him a little earlier, a little undersized, but the dude has a motor that never stops, and he could definitely help out the Tennessee Titans, which already have a pretty solid defense.
Yeah, he's extremely long. That's what one of the things going for him is, though. So even though he's not as big as some as your prototypical edge rusher, he is as long as them, if not longer. So he does offer a lot of upside, in my opinion. This is one of the guys that I've fallen in love with in this draft.
Number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. This will be the newest member into the drama, not known as Keeping Up with the Kardashians. DeAndre Baker, defensive back out of Georgia. We know that the Steelers need help in the secondary. They were lit up all year last year. DeAndre Baker definitely feels a need for the Steelers.
Absolutely. They need to be able to stop offenses, especially in that division. So he's going to be a great fit for them if that ends up happening.
All right, 21, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Deontay Thompson, safety out of Alabama, definitely fits the defensive scheme for the Seattle Seahawks and feels a need with the expected departure of Earl Thomas.
Yeah, Deontay Thompson's still my first overall safety right now. There is a guy that I really like, though. I talked about him in my combine video, too, that I think is going to give him a run for his money after the combine, but we'll mention him again here in a minute.
Perfect. Number 22, the Baltimore Ravens. News coming out today that Michael Crabtree, never Crabtree here on this channel, is now gone, which really, who cares? So what do we have him taking here? A wide receiver and arguably the best NFL-ready wide receiver in N'Keal Harry, wide receiver out of Arizona State, to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, they're going to take a wide receiver in this first round no matter what. I don't think they'll be drafting anybody else, especially seeing Crabtree cut today. I think that basically opens all the doors for it to happen. Can Lamar Jackson utilize that wide receiver, though? There will be questions there with that.
Yep, absolutely. Number 23, we have the Houston Texans, and this one to me is borderline no-brainer, especially when you look at the position-wise. They need offensive line help. They have to protect Deshaun Watson more. I mean, he can't take this many hits every year, year after year. We have him taking Dalton Reisner, offensive tackle out of Kansas State.
Yes, Dalton Reisner, not a sexy name. He's not a name that a lot of people are going to pay too much attention to, but I think he is a very safe name. He might not be an all-pro. He might not be a Pro Bowl or whatever. None of those things, but he's going to be super safe, and he's going to keep Deshaun Watson off his back.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Number 24, back to the Oakland Raiders. Here we have them also feeling a need on the offensive line. Greg Little, offensive tackle out of Ole Miss.
Yeah, at this point, when you get back this far, you could argue quarterback is going to be their main need. I've heard a lot from Raiders Nation. They say that they don't really want a quarterback, that they think Carr is fine. And I would personally agree. I do think Carr is just fine, but I think there's a lot of writing on the wall to them potentially taking a guy like Kyler Murray if they can get their hands on him. But at this point in the draft, based on what's left, who has first-round grades, who doesn't, Greg Little is a guy with a lot of potential upside at offensive tackle, a former five-star recruit, five-star prospect. Has a lot of upside. Didn't quite materialize at Ole Miss, but it is there. It is there. They just got to get it out of them.
Yeah, you're right. The last couple mocks we've done with the quarterback going to Oakland, people were lighting us up in the comment section. They do not want it. Apparently, they love David Carr or Derek Carr or whoever you want to, whatever Carr you want to throw in there. We have next up the 25th pick, the Philadelphia Eagles. We have them going defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence out of Clemson. This may be their biggest need there in Philadelphia.
Yeah, they really need somebody on the defensive line, whether it be defensive tackle or edge. Dexter Lawrence is a guy that's got that fringe round one price tag on him right now. He could end up being a round two. We'll have to see after the combine, but based on needs and best available, he falls here.
Yeah, and going on to number 26, another position which I think a lot of people in the Indianapolis Colts fandom, if you want to call it that, don't really want another wide receiver, but they're going to take another wide receiver at some point. We have them taking Kelvin Harmon, wide receiver out of NC State here, 26th overall.
Kelvin Harmon is getting some attention, some more and more attention. It's kind of building up. Is he a first-round player? You could debate that, but again, we're looking at team needs versus best available. That is how this falls right here. They really could use another weapon to take the pressure off T.Y. Hilton.
Agreed. Number 27, once again, the Oakland Raiders. We have them taking running back Josh Jacobs out of Alabama. And if you think about it, you have Marshawn Lynch, who's like on his last leg, like literally. You have Doug Martin, who is he really a running back? At times he is. There's a name floating out there off and on of Chris Warren. You have Jalen Richard. Josh Jacobs kind of solidifies the running back group there and gives them a back of the future out of Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, he could be like a Marshawn Lynch 2.0, a guy that can catch a little, runs guys over, very hard runner. We'll see again at the combine what ends up happening. Some talk that he might not participate in all the drills. He might be dealing, with a little bit of a growing injury right now. So we'll see how that plays out. But basically everybody in the world has a first round grade on Josh Jacobs, and running backs aren't really in need in the first round this year. But he does fall into a nice place here. Like you said, they could use him. And based on the other players here right now, they don't really profile as a higher grade than Jacobs.
Yep. Number 28 overall to the Los Angeles Chargers. We have one of your Michigan boys, Devin Bush, linebacker out of Michigan. Definitely somebody who could fit into a defense that already has some Pro Bowl talent in it and further build him up, because this guy is raw, but his potential is through the roof.
Yeah, and I talked about a really good fit for Bush being the Cincinnati Bengals. Unfortunately, I don't see him going that high, but going to the Chargers could be the same thing because they have Bosa and they have Ingram already, causing a lot of havoc on the offensive line and really helping open some gaps. Open some gaps, and that could be to Bush's benefit because he's really good at finding those gaps, exploding through the gaps, getting to the quarterback. He's extremely fast. He can hunt people down. That would be a perfect fit for him.
Gotta love those gaps, Kyle. Anyway, moving on. 29th overall, the Kansas City Chiefs. They have a need on defense, and here they get some help. Defensive back Amani Oruwariye out of Penn State. Well, I mean, we knew it all year last year. The Chiefs are going to put up points, and they're going to score a lot. What does that force their opponents to do? To keep scoring and throwing the football. He feels a need there in the secondary for him.
Yes, absolutely. And he's not a guy with the first round grade as of yet by most, but he is a guy that is must watch. Again, my combine must watch video. He is included on that for the defensive player. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. This guy's going to show up at the combine and he's going to come up draft boards pretty quick, I think.
Yep. Number 30, the second Green Bay Packers pick here. We have them taking tight end TJ Hawkinson out of Iowa. He is the better pass blocking tight end there in Iowa, and they need some help on that offensive line to keep Aaron Rodgers upright. They don't really utilize the tight end anyway in that offense, so he kind of fills a need at both offensive line and tight end.
Yes. So I went back and forth on this one because I also had Nasir Adderley out of Delaware here. And basically what it came down to is currently Hawkinson has a little bit of a higher grade based on most experts. I wouldn't say I completely agree with it, but Nasir Adderley and Hawkinson's a little bit above him right now. So they do need some help at tight end. Jimmy Graham is going to end up being gone next year, but he's an exceptional blocker. He's the number one tight end in this draft, in my opinion. So I think he fits well here, but I think Nasir Adderley could go well here too. Adderley needs to get through the combine though and boost his stock a little bit more though, because there's not a whole lot of people that are high on him because of how small of a school he played at, being D2.
Yeah, I mean, it's Delaware. Who the heck watches Delaware football outside of the state of Delaware?
Joe Flacco probably does.
Well, that's Joe Flacco. That's another story. Number 31 overall, the Los Angeles Rams have a need at linebacker. Here we have them taking Mack Wilson out of Alabama. And if you could say that there was one main weakness on the defensive side of the football for the Rams, it was the linebacking position, and Mack Wilson helps them out there.
He does. Mack Wilson, again, one of those fringe round one grades at this point. So going at the back half of the first round, I don't think this is a bad value. I have had a couple of other linebackers here previously. I think Wilson slips right in here and would be a great addition to that defense.
Agreed. All right, number 32 overall, last pick of the first round. It's the New England Patriots, and here we have them taking defensive tackle Charles Omenihu out of Texas. Totally pronounced it right, too. I feel like I knocked that one out of the park. I could have totally butchered that, but I didn't. I'm kind of proud of myself here. But anyway, Charles Omenihu, a defensive tackle, definitely fits the Patriots scheme, and it's a need that they have there right now.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely profiles as a big, long defensive tackle that can push offensive linemen back into the backfield. Again, I've said it a lot, a fringe round one guy right now. Some of us have him as a round one grade, some of us have him more into round two, maybe even a little bit later. It's just that's the way it is with almost the entire back half of this draft right now. There is so much because I took my board and I basically said, okay, where do these guys rank with other people? And they're all over the place right now, all over the place. It's absolutely insane. This is one of the drafts with the most variance that I've seen in quite some time. So a lot of good talent, just nobody knows where exactly to put everybody right now.
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully after this week, after the combine, we'll be able to get a little bit more of a clear picture. So definitely make sure you check out our mocks after the combine. They'll be coming out here just afterwards. We'll be heading there this weekend. Both Kyle and I will be in Indianapolis watching as many of these guys as we possibly can. It's going to be fun. We're looking forward to it. If there's a question on a player that we talked about and we didn't answer it for you, hit us up down below in the comment section. We pride ourselves on being one of the most interactive fantasy football, NFL football channels out there on YouTube. We really look forward to hearing from you guys. Trying to keep these videos short and sweet. So make sure you go follow us on Twitter, Kyle at krich1532, me at Fantasy Headliners, FNTSY Headliners. We look forward to interacting with you guys. Thank you for all the support, and we'll talk to you later.